Are you wondering what your unique travel personality is? Also, what kind of travel style are you? If you're not sure, then this episode is definitely the one for you. Join me while I talk with Dan Coleman from G Adventures to talk about how you can travel with purpose on your next trip. Hey, I'm Steph, and I'm obsessed with all things travel, marketing, branding, and helping you stand out from the crowd. In just under 2 years, I went from being a home-based travel agent with zero clue how to make it work in the digital world to launching an international ranking travel podcast and creating an online course to help travel agents in lead generation. Here's one thing I know for sure. There has never in the history of the world been a better time to create the travel business you've always wanted. All you need is an actionable strategy and someone to show you the way. Picture this, we're going to spend the next hour of our time together at the Swim Up Pool Bar where over a cocktail, we deep dive into travel-related topics, mixed with a little classroom training. This show is dedicated to encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and into your travel business. I'll show you how I did it and how you can too. Hit subscribe now and let's get into it. If you're a travel agent wanting to onboard your perfect fit clients into your biz, download my free cheat sheet for lead generation systems you can use right now. Head to stephaniemyers.academy/cheat sheet. You're listening to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. Hello and welcome to episode number 16 on Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. My name is Stephanie Myers and I am your travel agent and host. In today's episode, I am so blessed to have Dan Coleman from G Adventures join us on the show. We are talking about G Adventures as a company, what their brand message is, and also diving into a little bit about the different travel styles that they do. We are doing a mini series with G Adventures, so together we will be releasing some more episodes based around travel personality, what different people are attracted to which different style. So stay tuned for those, but in today's episode, it is an overview of the brand and what they're known for. So let's dive in. Hi, Dan. Welcome to Unplug in Paradise.
Thank you so much, Steph. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's such a great pleasure to have you on the show. I feel like this has been a really long time coming.
It has. I mean, we first talked about the work that you're doing through your podcast, I think, over a year ago.
It was.
G Adventures, on behalf of the crew, we're just, we feel privileged to be part of what you're doing. So thank you for inviting us.
Oh, thank you. So we're here today to talk about G Adventures and what they bring to the table in terms of their unique travel styles, what their core values are, and as a collective, how they convey their brand message throughout their journeys across the globe. But before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to recognise the generations of the local Aboriginal people of the Bundjalung Nation who have lived in and derived their physical and spiritual needs from the forests, rivers, lakes and streams of this beautiful valley over thousands of years as the traditional owners and custodians of these lands. So let's start off by finding out what G Adventures' mission is behind everything that you do and what separates it from other touring options out there on the market.
Great, let's do it.
Alrighty, so can you tell us a little bit about G Adventures, what your brand message is?
Okay, so there's so many parts to that. I know that we've talked about the brand message and what it would be saying, but there is a lot to it. So I suppose let's just start at the beginning. So what we do is we take travelers away on really exciting, amazing adventures all around the world. We've been doing that for 30 years. I think at the moment we're traveling to over 100 countries on all 7 continents. So that's what we do. But what we do that people, really love about us and why they come back to us, and I think why we've had sort of the continued success that we have, is there's a very much a local approach in what we're doing. So we're trying to give people meaningful experiences, so an authentic experience and destination with people with different cultures, landscapes and wildlife. And doing that responsibly. So we're working with local communities. Bruce, the founder of G Adventures, he talks about us not being a travel company, but a social enterprise. And that, I love that part of working with G Adventures. So how that would look for someone that's on a trip with us. You're going to a beautiful place, it might be remote, and the infrastructure that we're using, so things like transportation, accommodation and meals, where we can is we'll incorporate local suppliers into our chain.
Yes.
And we've been doing that for 30 years, and as I said, that's why people continue to come back with us. It is authentic and it is genuine in how we do that. So what I do like about G Adventures is we haven't always got it right. I'll put my hand up and admit, because I've been with G Adventures for over a decade now. And look, I hate to say it, but I've ridden an elephant, and I've been to a tiger temple, and I've taken photos of children, and I've visited schools, and all of those things that I didn't know were sort of as harmful as they are. But along the way, I think the heart at G Adventures, and this comes from our people that travel with us and the people that work with the business, heart's in the right place, and we're constantly learning and evolving. So when I said that we're genuine in our approach, I believe that we're doing it right. For now, always open-minded, open-hearted to learn how to do it better. But the brand is, as I said, it's a social enterprise. We talk about G for good. It's the impact that we can have on remote communities and, through the work that we're doing, but also having an amazing life-changing experience for our travelers along the way. So it all sorts of work. It works really well. I like how every part of that works harmoniously together just to be better at what we're doing. So, I think that's G Adventures. That's the sort of long answer.
Yeah, I love what you guys do for the local communities in way of training up women, especially in different, localized villages and things like that, to actually be an active part of society and helping out, whether it's like taxi driving or something like that. I just love what you guys do in respect to, getting women involved.
Yeah, so do I, Steph. It's, as I said, I've been at 10 years now with G Adventures. I left and I came back, and
you just loved it that much. They couldn't keep you away.
Truthfully, that's actually it. It's nice to feel proud for who you work with and who you work for. So, you touched on some of the work that we do with women. And that is a big part of it. So one of the pillars of G for Good is about supporting women. So it's that social enterprise is, we've got things like the Women's Weaving Co-op. Just before you hit the Inca Trail or head to Machu Picchu with us, you go and visit one of the communities in the Sacred Valley, and there's the Women's Weaving Co-op. It's a really beautiful initiative, and I first went there probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and at the time it was just a small village on the side of a hill with not a lot, but a really beautiful and important cultural weaving technique that was unique to these people in the Andes. So we're working with the women there, because a lot of the men, they work on the Inca Trail with us, so the porters, the guides, the cooks. So it was, how could we support their families? And our travelers, when they go, they want to buy a knick-knack or a souvenir to take home. So why not ramp that up and do it really well? So the Women's Weaving Co-op, it started with, I'd say, 3 or 4 ladies from this community who were saying, come and visit our village. We want to show you what we do. And I was lucky to go back there probably 2 years ago, and they're thriving. It's always a highlight for our travelers that go there. And then all these little micro enterprises will come off that. So there's a guy who makes tea there, and it's all of the herbs from the mountains that you just don't know about. That costs you 1 sol, so that's 50 cents. You can buy, you can see how the weaving's done. You can buy from the person who did it, and it supports the community. So now they have internet in their school. They're sending their kids off to universities. All of that. As I said, our travelers want an authentic experience and they want to do it right. And we've empowered these people to they've grabbed a little bit of that tourist dollar that's coming through and they're working really well with it. So we find that the leaders in a lot of these communities are women.
Yeah.
And that's, and that stands true across the globe. So there's a lot of projects which we're doing, which are working with women in these remote communities. Even, as you said, taxi driving in Delhi, you get picked up by Women on Wheels, and that's your transfer service home. We could just use a taxi.
Yes.
But for the, well, that's it. And I've done this and I love it. But for the investment of a year-long chauffeur training program and a microloan for the vehicles, now we have, put these women through this, they're looking after our travelers just to drive them from the airport. So it's a great way to meet travelers as they come into a country. Plus, this is the first piece of ID and real work that these ladies have had access to. When they go back home in their uniform into their community or into their, villages, people are seeing them. And I like to think that other young ladies are seeing these women and thinking like, there's a pathway. So we talk about the ripple score and the ripple effect. As simple as choosing to not take a taxi, but to invest in, this Women on Wheels program, there's a huge impact that's been had there. And as I said, our travelers love it. That's why they come back to us. So it really does work.
I think it makes such a huge difference just between, like, you can book any sort of tour or deciding to go with somebody who actually travels with purpose and so much purpose. And it's so, so important.
It is, Steph. And this is the thing that I love about our industry. I've been around a little while now and
part of the furniture, mate.
I feel like that. So what I've seen, and I love this, and I've spoken to a couple of people about this, but look, we're not the only tour company out there that's doing stuff like this. There are some amazing businesses and operations that are really working to be authentic, sustainable, responsible. And I love that we're all racing to the top. It's not a race to the bottom. We're all racing to the top. We're all trying to be better than each other. And it's just having, it's having such a great effect on how people travel. A lot of what we do is about education, and it's teaching people about things that you wouldn't do at home. We hope you wouldn't do when you're traveling, and that might be I talked about it just a little bit earlier, but taking photos of kids.
And how many people? How many people do you see coming home plastering all over Facebook the beautiful children that they've taken pictures of, and and you think, well, like it's you tend not to think anything of it, but I can see how much of an impact that would have on just tourism itself, and you don't realize that maybe you had to pay for that photo, or maybe that impact is so much more ingrained that village aren't really susceptible to that type of photography, or they don't even have any knowledge that it is online.
That's right.
So I can see that.
So and look, we're trying to educate our people. As I said, I've committed the sins. I've visited the orphanages, and I didn't know.
I've done the same.
I think a lot of us have done it, but taking a picture of a child or going to visit a school or an orphanage, kids are not tourist attractions, and we shouldn't treat them that way. So
that's like our little slice of culture, though. That it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As I said, there's more. We're not the only operator out there that's traveling like this. And the more of us that do it, and the more people that go away and travel that way, the better we'll be all traveling in the future. So I like to think that we're getting better at this. We've just launched, there's an initiative through G Adventures, and we're talking about re-travel. And it's about those things. It's about Indigenous culture. It's about women. It's about children, and wildlife. We may have done things one way in the past, but as we're sort of rebuilding the travel industry and planes are starting to operate again, let's not keep doing it the way that we have been. This is a chance to change some stuff. So, and I think it does feel like a lot of people are on board with that.
Yeah, totally. I get that vibe as well. Like, a lot of people are just wanting to be a little bit more conscious moving forward. So I think with women travelers with G Adventures, what would normally be the age and demographic across the board of the tours that you take overseas?
Okay, so great question. There's no simple answer for that. So,
yes,
and the
I know
reason
it's a tricky one.
I know. Look, we have more ladies or female travel with us than we do men, and we have a big portion of that is single female travelers who choose to go away with us. So I'd say we're probably at about 65% female travelers, and that's globally. But then again, we market and sell out of a lot of different destinations. So out of Australia and New Zealand, I think where some of your listenership comes from.
Yeah.
That number does fit. Now, the reason why it's hard to give a demographic of age is because we've got such a range. We offer some family trips, so people going away with their kids, through to we've got the active trips, we've got the wellness trips, which I think you and I are going to talk about a little bit more.
Yes, definitely keen for that.
I think what it is it's more of it's a mindset or a lifestyle demographic. That's where I would put it. So
yeah,
if the stuff that I've been talking about having an authentic experience, sometimes in remote or hard to get to places. So what I mean by that is they may be sometimes a little bit more challenging, to get to, or even physically, there might be longer travel days, or they might be a bit rougher than you might be used to. If that, but at the end of that is an authentic experience. If that appeals to you, then you're probably the right person for, to at least look at a G Adventures trip. But then, something like the wellness one, which I think, as I said, we're going to talk about a bit more. We really only seem to have, women interested in doing those ones. We haven't actually had many men inquire at all about those. It's a new travel style of ours, which definitely resonates with our ladies.
Yes.
But as I said, it's a tough one to answer. What I have noticed, we have some trips that I think are possibly more thrilling or exciting. When I look at them, I think, wow, that's scary. That's way out there. And one of the trends that we notice is often those will be the ones that we get more single female travelers booked on. And be it that it's, they want to travel in a group, they want it organized, they want the social aspect, or even, it could be the safety aspects that group travel brings. We seem to find that our most adventurous travelers keen on the far-flung remote places are our women travelers, which really excites me. I know we were talking about your listenership and G Adventures. I think the numbers match each other perfectly.
Yes.
For ages and gender. So I guess that's the long answer. I hope that's sort of...
No, that's perfect, because that's kind of aligning with what I've kind of seen as well coming through. And I've been in travel for 12 years or 12 plus years now, heading into my 13th year, which it's kind of like a labor of love. You just can't leave because you're so passionate.
That's it. I mean, it is an amazing industry, and it's got such amazing people in it. And that's the thing that I love about it, is I'll never know everything about the world. I feel like there might even be some trades where you could actually become an expert in it, and you can become very, very good in this, travel space. But things change, and that's what I love about it. And also, I mean, how good is it to help facilitate or organize someone going away on actual life-changing experiences? And that's the thing that I think you're there for, I'm here for. People come to me or to yourself and they say, this is my bucket list. I spoke to, my parents, I was going to do this, or I've wanted to do this my whole life, or I read this, or I watched this movie, or I have to do this. And we help facilitate that. And there's,
I know, making dreams come true is pretty special.
It is. I mean, I've been not too much longer than yourself in the industry, but I get really emotional when I see someone doing, these amazing things that we get to support them to do. And, we also get to do, we love travel ourselves, Steph.
Yes.
I think that keeps us
totally
here.
And speaking of life-changing moments, in your role with G Adventures, because you've been with them for quite a long time, and you've worked for, such a travel conscious company, how has that changed the way that you see travel? And we've had a conversation earlier that in an ideal world that you would have 3 trips a year, and they're all very vastly different. Can you explain why you choose such crazy adventures?
Yeah. Okay. So, right. So when we were talking about, in an ideal world for me, I would have 3 trips a year. And look, that's very privileged, and it doesn't always happen that way. But as I said, in an ideal world. So there is always one, because, travel is my career. So there's always one that I want to go away and learn something about a destination that's popular for travelers coming up or right now, or something that, that we sell a lot of, that I need to know more about. So, I mean, the Inca Trail, we're the number one company on the Inca Trail. So it's really important that I know everything I can about that. So I've been to Peru a bunch of times and learned as much as I can about Peru. And that supports my career and my career growth. Then there's the drop and flop, which, look, I love it. I do like to just be able to switch off, because we have busy lives. And, and initially when I first started working with G Adventures, it was really hard. I couldn't tell anyone I was going to a Pacific island for a week to do nothing, because they're all like, why aren't you climbing a mountain? Or why aren't you with a remote community? Why aren't you doing all these thrilling things? But, as I said, we lead busy lives. It's okay to stop for a bit. And then I like to do the scary ones. So this, I'll look at something that might be hard to find information about, or the idea of going there gives me, butterflies, and I'll go there.
Cool. So, book me now.
I know, right? Yeah. So that's an ideal world. Look, I think up until a couple of years ago, before, starting a family, like that was what I was doing. But now travel's changed for me. So I'm definitely looking. I mean, I just had an amazing couple of weeks spent around, where was I? Coffs Harbour, and up in the mountains there. Beautiful. I had an amazing time. As good as any other sort of overseas trip I've had, because I was with the right people, and, I planned it perfectly. So I got exactly what I was after, without having to jump on a plane, which was good. But I think you asked also, working for a conscious business, and how has that impacted how I travel? It's actually impacted my life. I was very much, I think just a bit, I wasn't aware of impacts that we can have. And that might be as simple as recycling properly, or choosing what, food I buy, where it's produced, how far it's traveled, where the money's going back into it. It's resonated through and impacted a lot more of what I do than I was aware of. But yeah, in regards to travel, it does make it a bit of a challenge, because I see some really close friends of mine doing stuff that I think, those aren't sustainable practices, and we shouldn't be doing that. And I don't want to be the
Debbie
downer.
The Debbie Downer.
Or the Dan Downer. Yeah. I don't want to be the Dan Downer. But but I do sometimes feel that it's my, I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to learn.
Yes.
And someone taught me once about, how to do things better. So now it's my turn to give back and educate people. And I'll do that with friends. I might see them posting, example, someone was posing with wildlife on the streets in Bangkok. And I messaged them and said, hey, look, let's have a chat about that when you get back. And they were really open to it and said, I had no idea. What I was doing was sort of perpetuating, taking wildlife from the jungle and not treating them well, until I'd done that. No, not everyone loves hearing that. And it does make it hard. It does make it hard as someone who works for a business that is very conscious about what they do. That's always you're always aware of it.
That's right. And I think it flows. I think that sort of concept flows throughout your daily life as well. Like, just as you were saying, how it teaches you even just to do the simplest of tasks, like recycling properly. I had a girlfriend at my house the other day, and I had just come back from the dentist, and I was, showing off all my goodies because she just loaded me up. with, sensitive toothpastes and a toothbrush and all this stuff. And I was showing her, like, just as a, I don't know, entertainment strategy, perhaps. And she looked at me and she went, Steph, that toothbrush takes thousands of years to break down. You need to get a bamboo toothbrush.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't even know. Between you and I didn't even know that they made them.
Right. Well, and
I would walk straight past. And I think it's just like my parents didn't really do that. I don't really do that. My son's got a plastic toothbrush. Like, you wouldn't even think, like, something as so little as that is going to make such a tremendous change in your everyday, and then flowing on out into the world as well, to those countries that probably don't even have a toothbrush, or have that sort of routine in their lives. But something so small like that can just be so detrimental to their environment.
And bless your friends who was bold and brave enough to take a stand and tell you something that, as we both said, you don't want to be a downer, but it is up to us to educate people. If we do know, do it properly, do it with compassion, but educate. And that's what I think that the businesses that travel like G Adventures, which are about being sustainable and responsible and ethical in what we do, we are showing people that it's possible, and we're teaching people. I go through the feedback that we get from trips, and it's always really lovely to see where someone's eyes and maybe their heart has been opened to something they didn't know about. They thought they were going to hike Kilimanjaro, but little did they know that they were going to be encountering people or destination that would have a big impact on how they live their lives when they get back home.
Wow.
One of the places that did that for me, and I think it's back to a travel sort of way how this connects, there's one destination I think that creates fans of the environment or champions for the environment more than anywhere else, which is Antarctica. G Adventures, we have a vessel. We've been operating there for a number of years now. And I was lucky enough to travel to Antarctica in 2015. So I went at the start of the season, which is sort of late November. And we depart from the bottom of South America, from Ushuaia, and head over. So it's a small ship that we use, just 130 people on board. It's a beautiful little vessel, but we had 2 days of the Drake Shake going. So huge waves getting there. Yeah. But the good thing is the excitement levels are so high on your way to Antarctica that you put up with anything.
It's the major bucket list tick off the box, isn't it? Like, it is such a big deal. It is such a big deal. And I think there's so many travelers out there that are just like, okay, Antarctica is the only continent I haven't ticked off my list, so let's do it.
Oh, that number 7, yeah, because once you've been to your 7th continent, apparently you're supposed to take a photo holding up 7 fingers. And we had over half the vessel doing that. So there's a couple of things that happen. So when you're on the Drake Passage or, in between meals or landings, there's no entertainment on board. It's a small ship, but it's about education. So there's constant lectures. So you're learning about the history, the explorers, flora, fauna, and then, a little bit more about sort of impact of the rest of the world is having on Antarctica. So as I said, it creates champions for environment, which is fantastic, but also the people that go. And this is something I wasn't prepared for. I knew I was going to love Antarctica. I knew I was going to cry as soon as I stepped foot.
Oh, yes,
and I did. I
love that.
It was really special. As soon as I got back, rang Mum up. I said, "Oh, we made it." It's number 7. Like, wow, because we'd always wanted to travel together. It just wasn't available to us, but it felt like we had got somewhere. So, but what I wasn't prepared for was...
I got goosebumps. That's so special. That's so special.
It is.
Love it.
So the people that you travel with, like, you sit down for meals, it's very casual on board. Like, there's nothing fancy about it at all. I guess apart from the lectures, very qualified lecturers, but everyone you speak to, this is the 7th continent, so they're really well traveled. Yes. And generally what happens if you travel a bit, and you travel, I think, like G Adventures or other small group or operators do, very open-minded, very interested in the world, interested in people, and that was every time I'd sit down with somebody different, a different couple or someone on their own, and hours would pass by before I realized, like, oh, okay, it's another landing. Like, we just get lost in conversation. So the caliber of people going is, they they're explorers and they're
they're
interested in the world.
thinkers.
That's it. So,
Yeah.
and once you've hit 6 continents, that 7th, that just plays on your mind. It's always at the back that you've got one more continent that you need to go and visit to have your 7th continent photo. But again, as we know, you never stop traveling. You go to one place and it adds 3 or 4 more to you. So I think that's why, we also then go to the Arctic with the same vessel. So they'll do both poles with us.
So I love that. Is there any destination, Dan, that you've been to that has actually really changed your world, flipped you on its head in a good or bad way, or something you've done recently? Or
yeah, look, everywhere I've been, a lot of my trips have been with G Adventures, and I'll talk mostly about that because that's why we're here. So
yes.
Being a small group, you've got a really low impact. When you arrive in a place getting off public transport, you're not like, okay, here come the tourists. There's less filters between you and everybody around you. So it's very real. So an experience it can happen on a train. It can happen at a homestay or when you go off on your own. And that's the great thing about our trips is because we're doing an activity, it doesn't mean you have to come and do it. If you want your own time, if you don't want to be with the group, our guide will help you if you want them to. They'll direct you, they'll give you taxi information, they'll tell you what you need to know, and you can go off on your own. So being in a small group with that flexibility and free time, you can really build the experience that you want, again, with the safety, security, social aspects of that group that you can come back to. So there is that. But look, I think every time I've been to South America, personally, something big has happened in my life. So be it career, relationship, just lifestyle, something has always happened every time I go to South America. So
something in the water in South America.
And I've stopped going.
You're like, I can't deal with all these changes.
My life is really happy. I don't need a change right now. No, it's good. My life's great. So, and also, I'm such a fan of Asia. So my most recent trip, I went with a friend. We jumped on motorbikes. We went to Pakistan, and we went sort of traveling around northern Pakistan, around the Karakoram Highway, which is absolutely stunning. And that was one of those trips that I said, Steph, I go somewhere that scares me. So it was just a little bit harder to find information about Pakistan than it was Thailand. Like it's there,
yes.
if you want it, but it wasn't as easily accessible. So, we had motorbikes. It was a really good friend of mine from G Adventures, Maddie, and we just had 3 weeks, and it was so beautiful. I don't think I saw anyone else from any other country. I think I saw some domestic tourists, but it was cherry blossom season.
Wow.
So we're going, and it's beautiful. I couldn't get over, there's glaciers and there's beautiful valleys. We went to the 5 Giants, which is the start of 5 mountain ranges and 2 rivers flow through there. So the Himalaya, I've seen the start of where it begins. And it was such a spiritual, special place. That will always stay with me. Just sitting, riding on a motorbike to that place and watching the sunset over it. That was very, very special. So I think that was the last big scary one I'll get to go to for a while. Next, it might be a cruise with a kids club or, a resort with
flop and drop
for the kids. That's it. So that could be on the cards for now. But I think Pakistan will always have a bit of my heart for sure.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love that when places encapsulate you and then and you come home and you just feel so different. You're thinking, oh, that was quite a journey.
Yes, and I had a pair of boots, and that's I love this. So I've had this pair of motorbike boots for years now, and they fell apart on the very last day there. And I took them to get them repaired, and there was just a guy on the side of the road, and I misheard what he said, and he's like, I thought, $30, that's going to be great. Yeah, I can afford that. He's going to restitch my boots. It was $3, and they're still good now. But I've got these, the story of these boots, which I've been traveled all over the world with, but now they've been fixed by, old man on the side of the road in Gilgit in Pakistan, and they mean so much more to me. So I don't wear them for riding the motorbike anymore. They're too special.
No, that's right. That's a souvenir in itself.
That's it. That's it.
Now, how can our lovely ladies out there find more about G Adventures and the amazing destinations and tours that you have on offer?
Well, I think, Steph, it would be about contacting yourself. Like, you've been a great supporter and partner of ours for a long time. So I would have to say start with you.
Yay!
Stephanie Myers,
I love
MTA Travel.
advocating for G Adventures.
Well, you do, and that's how you first came to my attention, or the business attention. So, yeah, you've been a big supporter of ours. So I would definitely say start with you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If there's anything people want to know about us, we're very available. If you're on any of the social medias, you'll find us there. G Adventures is the tag or the handle for most things. But yeah, gadventures.com. Great website there. We've got our blogs, so you can go in. And if you just want to know, what was the most recent thing on there? The health benefits of turmeric. You can read about that. If you want to know what you need to pack to climb Kilimanjaro, or how to train for it, you can go there as well. If you want to know more about the work that we're doing with our women, with our social enterprises and communities, you can find that in our blog or on our website as well. So we're very available. We've got all of the channels that you might need us, social media. And yeah, like I said, just start with yourself. I think that's, you know, us
I can
about
direct,
as well as anyone.
I can direct people to where they need to go. That's why I'm here.
Perfect.
Also, next time you're on the show, we will be diving into the different travel styles that G has on offer. So yeah, it's not a surprise why so many past passengers keep returning back to G, because you guys have so much to offer.
Yeah, we do. And that's the thing, like, it's really great to see. And we do have people who they've sort of grown up traveling with us. So we've been around for 30 years. So when they first started, they were looking for the cheapest, bare bones, late nights, rough mornings, wild sort of experiences. And then they might have moved into, maybe a little bit slower, but I want to get to know the destination better. I want more homestays, or, I want to use more local transport, through to things like, which I know we're excited to talk about, which is our wellness program, our week-long retreats in beautiful parts of the world, and our sailing trips as well. So yeah, it's really interesting to see over 30 years, people have sort of grown, and their styles of travel change as they change.
Yes, I can agree with that. With that. My tastes now are so different to what they were, even 5-10 years ago.
Yep.
But I really look forward to doing those episodes with you,
Right.
Dan. I think they'll be awesome. So stay tuned for those coming soon. But I just want to thank you for coming on the show today, Dan. I'm so excited. It's I think the more that we speak about travel in a positive way, now that at time of recording, we're right slap bang in the middle of COVID. So yeah, I really am excited for things moving forward, and really grateful for people like yourself supporting me and supporting the podcast, and being able to deliver so much valuable information to the ladies listening out there.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. As I said, on behalf of G Adventures, thank you so much for having us along. And it is, as we said, we looked at your people who are part of your podcast and listen to you, and it's exactly who travels with us. So it's a great fit, and I'm excited as well.
Thank you. All right. Well, I will catch you very soon, Dan. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Steph.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Dan. That was incredible. I loved learning more every time we speak. I learn a little bit more about G Adventures, and I just love being an advocate for G. I think it's an amazing product. I love everything that you do, and I think that moving forward in the world of travel, we are going to be making those mindful decisions when it comes to sustainability and traveling responsibly and traveling with purpose. So a lot of key messages in this one today. So I really hope that you've taken some key takeaways for yourself. But one of the major ones for me was what that Dan had explained, was that G Adventures doesn't always get it right. And I so respect him for saying that, because so many travel companies out there, unlike G, they feel like they're doing a slam dunk every time. And I get that. And I guess that's what they want to be known for. But G Adventures, they're really working with the people. They're working with the locals, the villagers, the people in need, and really, really doing their hardest work to continuously evolve the product so it continues to be better.
it continues to be more sustainable, and they're all in a race to be better, not in a race against each other. So I really love that. Thanks, Dan. Quite a few links and resources in today's episode. So if you head over to travelbystephanie.com.au/16, you can download all of the show notes for this episode, and be mindful that we are doing a mini series for G Adventures. So there'll be plenty more episodes between me, myself and Dan in the future. So if you head over to the show notes, you've got access to all of G Adventures links and resources. So you've got the Instagram handle. You can go over and read their blog, which is absolutely incredible. So go over and do that. Also, if you are looking at a G Adventures trip, please do let me know. There are links of how to get in contact with me directly on the show notes. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. So make sure you head over to Apple Podcasts, and leave me a 5-star review and a rating. That would make my day. And also make sure you've subscribed. And then that way you get notified when the new episodes drop for our mini-series. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast and you're on Instagram, please head over and give me a tag or a follow, and also include me on what your key takeaways are. I'd really love to know what your feedback is. So I look forward to chatting soon. Thank you. Bye.